the headline out of CBS News. Dallas, blood, vomit, and diarrhea-soaked hazardous materials piled to the ceiling from just one Ebola patient in Dallas. The gentleman that died last Wednesday from West Africa. And now a second nurse that treated him out of more than 70 has come down with Ebola, and now they think her boyfriend may have it as well. And, of course, they sent at least one of his children to school, and he used his apartment and the nearby street as a vomitorium. On top of that, the feds sent just regular cleaning crews in to clean it up. Ebola at this point, maximum, from the numbers I've looked at, might be a couple hundred people. They're claiming it's 3 right now. So there's no need to panic at this point if somebody sneezes and has a nosebleed, or if somebody's had the flu and their intestines are inflamed and they have blood in their feces. That is quite common. Millions of Americans have that every year. But if this continues and you get thousands with Ebola and then tens of thousands with Ebola, the hysteria alone during the flu season, because the first stages of Ebola look like the flu, will cause an incredible medical tyranny. We've had guests point this out. I've pointed this out. Listeners have pointed this out. But this morning, watching CNN and then going to the gym, CNN was saying you need to take the flu shot because if you get sick, they will throw you in a quarantine if you have the regular flu for 21 days or longer. As if a flu shot protects you from the flu. As if they ever guessed the right mutation a year before. They admit they've never guessed. It doesn't work. It causes neurological disorders. It's a fraud. The science of immunization is real. It has some serious risk, but it doesn't work with the flu, and that's just the medical literature. It doesn't work. So I walk into the gym, and not one, but 2 different people. And I thought they were messing with me because they know who I am, but just vaguely. And say, man, better get your flu shot. I'm going to get it. Or if I get sick, they'll throw me in quarantine. So they won't put in quarantine real people that had Ebola. They stuck him in the emergency room. They stuck him in a group area for days. That's in the news today. Didn't tell him when they knew he had Ebola for days, hey, you better wear a high-level mask, not just a paper mask. The default state and federal health department regulations stated that you were to isolate these people, that you weren't to bring them into the country, that you were to halt West African flights. This is the default. This thing kills between 50 and 90%, on average 70%, but it varies. 70% of people that end up getting this will die on average. This is a big deal. And they get on the news and they say, you got to vomit right in an open wound. Or other gross things to get this. And that's not true. We know this Ebola is different. We know it's mutated 300 plus times. We know it's spreading. The biggest cases before were 26 people infected a few years ago. Now, it has infected hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands, killed 4,000 plus people we know. That's probably a whitewash number. Is estimated to hit 1.4 to 5 million people, depending on what estimate you see from the UN and others. And the border is open, and flights are coming in. And now they're talking about maybe screening people. You don't screen them, you shut the flights down. Anybody originating out of West Africa, you let them know we're not letting you in, or they'll flood. As the Ebola begins to spread, reflecting on our past lives. And it doesn't. Because in the year 2014, they take me to the gallows pole, the sands of time for our republic and the world. are running low because the New World Order, the technocracy, has global chaos on its mind. And out of the wars and bioweapon plagues and atomic and hydrogen terrorism, they expect to build on those assets their planetary scientific dictatorship. I am your host, Alex Jones. We're broadcasting worldwide on this October 15th, Wednesday transmission. James Wesley Rawls, former Army intelligence officer, best-selling fiction and nonfiction writer, and one of the top 5 survivalists in the world, will be joining us coming up in the second hour today to discuss Ebola, economic collapse, and more. So stay with us for that information. We'll also open the phones up in this hour and in the hour where Rawls is not on with us as well. A second nurse at Dallas Presbyterian has been confirmed to have Ebola. A first nurse was confirmed to have Ebola on Sunday. Subsequent test on Monday confirmed it. Now the first nurse's boyfriend is showing symptoms of Ebola, and they were testing him yesterday and have not released it as of we go live right now. So that doesn't look too good, does it? Confirmed Ebola is spreading. Now, again, I know how to read CDC protocols, World Health Organization protocols, health department protocols on a level 4 contagion. And believe me, Ebola is the top of the line of bad nastiness. Some areas, 90% die. On average, it's 70%. And they brought back dozens and dozens, and last number I saw was close to 30, healthcare workers into the U.S. to be in regular hospital medical facilities. But they go, don't worry, we sealed off one end of a hall with ventilation open, not sealed rooms, not even level 3. They have them in level 2 containment facilities. They've built bioweapons labs in places like Galveston, Texas, out on a pier. And a hurricane 4 or 5 years ago hit it and destroyed the entire facility that had Ebola, smallpox, mousepox in it. Why would you build, since 2001, 36 bioweapons labs under the program BioShield and stick them in the middle of major cities everywhere or on coastlines or on fault lines in California? It's like the devil placed these things. They're all in the worst spots. Los Angeles, California, Kansas City, Missouri, Galveston, Texas. Just like they only want to build nuclear reactors on the worst fault. I mean, they built Devil's Canyon reactor on 4 fault lines. The only place in the state where 4 fault lines come together where they believe the super mega 10.0 will hit. 2 reactors, giant jumbo babies, will blow sky high. Why would you pick the worst spot? It's demonic. Because it's not like they only pick a few horrible spots. They always do the worst thing. They always do the most horrible thing. Even if it was ineptness, they would do something good sometimes. So let me give you the headline now. Ebola health worker flew hours before reporting symptoms, Bloomberg. The second healthcare worker diagnosed with Ebola in Texas flew between Cleveland and Dallas hours before she reported symptoms to state health workers, U.S. health officials said today. How about if you work in a hospital where somebody's got Ebola, you are quarantined to work at home if you choose to have that job, if you're going to, plus, don't you want to protect your family? If I worked in a hospital as a nurse in contact with an Ebola patient, when I got home, I would spray myself down with bleach in the front yard with a water hose, and then I would go through a window and stay in a room and not let my children near me. Just, that's default, no-brainer. If I worked in the hospital, I'd do that. But if I worked in the room with him, where they reportedly said the blood and the feces was stacked to the ceiling. That's CBS News. It's like a horror movie where they just splatter out They never show this on the news, ladies and gentlemen. Nurses union, Ebola patient left in open area of ER for hours. They didn't clean the ambulance for days. They didn't notify anybody. They didn't clean the house for a week. They don't care. And you can say the hospital wasn't ready. Why did the CDC, once they had an Ebola patient, not whisk them away to a federal facility? They have 36 of these. They have even more level 4 facilities. Oh, now in Bloomberg yesterday, they go, we're going to build special facilities. They don't have to build them. They're already there at government bases, at federal army bases and things. And we have some other sophisticated facilities. That's where you're going to go now. Well, that's where you were supposed to go. You don't let the flights come in. I know I keep harping on this. And when somebody comes in and they test positive for Ebola, everyone who was in contact gets put in quarantine. Because if you don't, it's not 50 people or 100 people in quarantine. Who, by the way, they tell these people go home and don't leave, and then they catch NBC reporters at restaurants who were in the rooms with people dying with Ebola. It's the same NBC medical correspondent. I meant to cover it yesterday. NBC's Nancy Schneiderman breaks Ebola quarantine, apologizes. This is the woman that said, just take your bleeping vaccine. Oh, by the way, Infowars.com article by Christina Sarich, who just does a great job for the site. Vaccinate the whole country with experimental Ebola vaccine. National Institutes of Health, we may need to deploy the vaccine to the entire community. Oh, how are you going to produce 320 million? That's how many Americans there are now, another 30 million illegal, so 50 million, whatever it is. How are you going to deploy that? I mean, it would take a year to make that much vaccine, they admit. Oh, they just so happen to have more than 15 vaccines in the pipeline, and 3 of them become available in December. And then even more in January and February. Oh, and then they had the Washington Post and NBC News and Market Watch and the Wall Street Journal all attack us yesterday in Kurt Nemo's article, taking his quote out of context where he said, looks like they'll make a bunch of money off vaccines that are set to come out. And they said, oh, Kurt's crazy. InfoWars is crazy. There are no vaccines set to come out. And they acted like Kurt said it was for sure. He said that they may try something like that. But of course they are. And now they're rolling it out, pushing it, promoting it. Just get your bleeping vaccine, doctor. Violates Ebola quarantine. NBC medical correspondent shows zero concern for public health. 2 months ago, we say don't fly people in here, stop West African flights. They had CBS News, NBC News, the White House, through Media Matters, which they admittedly run, all come out and demonize us and say that we were insane and there was no risk of it coming here. And now they're back in the news. Media Matters, the White House attacked us yesterday. In fact, guys, just type Alex Jones in Google and print me that article, thanks, in Google News. I forgot to IM it to you this morning. I want to show that article because they go, oh, it's crazy. He's fear-mongering, saying Obama wants Ebola to spread. Well, when other countries and other African countries all ban people coming in from nations hit with it, and when you bring people in for the first time ever that have it, and then medical workers start getting it, and God knows how much it's already spread. But see, they are the authority. They are the White House. And so the White House state-run media, George Soros funded publicly. Let me tell you what liars they are. They called me about 2 years ago. They wanted to, quote, interview me with one of their journalists. And I said, you're not journalist. You're White House hacks. The former transition chief runs it. You have weekly meetings with the White House that gives you their talking points. It's come out in Congress. You say you want to destroy any alternative media in the country. And nobody visits your site, but you are the talking points for CNN, MSNBC. And I said, George Soros just gave you $1.5 million this year. And the head person, the head editor, says, no, we didn't, and starts laughing. And I pulled it up online, and I said, here's Associated Press, here's Wikipedia, here's the federal, commission. You've gotten, what, $4 or $5 million the last couple of years from him, $1 million plus this year. And the guy went, you got me, Alex. See, they're always about testing. Is this an animal I can feed on? Is this an idiot? Kind of like when Senator Gary Hart was asked by We Are Change. It's in my film, Truth Rising. They go to the meeting where his book signing, and they said, you said in a public letter to Ahmadinejad that the U.S. government would stage terror attacks to blame it on him, so he better do what they're told, or they'll stage a new Gulf of Tonkin. He goes, no, I didn't. And they went, here's your letter in the Huffington Post. He goes, no, it isn't. And when he saw it, he goes, oh, I remember that, and literally gets scared and starts sweating and runs out of the meeting, basically. Has a meltdown like, you're supposed to be an animal. You're not supposed to know anything. You're not supposed to know how to look up federal filings for tax-free foundations that get money and who gave it. You're not supposed to know about my letter to Ahmadinejad. It's like, what? 2 + 2 = 5. You're like, no, 4. No, it does. Do what I say. I'm the authority. Do what I say. So now they've been caught red-handed by WorldNet Daily at Alexa, run by Amazon, that owns the Washington Post. They've been caught. Every Libertarian Patriot website turning it off, saying we have no visitors, when their own internal server shows we're spiking and all the Democrat sites are plunging. The new drumbeat, as predicted by our guests and listeners, is take the flu shot or you'll be quarantined if you get sick with any respiratory illness, because Ebola begins like the flu. And what the media is implying is that somehow the flu shot will protect you, period. Or you'll be sent to the quarantine center with the other Ebola patients. They're really saying you'll be given the death penalty if you don't go out and take the flu shot. And even before this Ebola stuff broke out and the government brought it into the country by policy, I would hear people in restaurants, but also on the news and in person, poking each other, going, you better get the flu shot this year. And it doesn't matter if you've got the Canadian government study showing the average flu shot doubles your chances of getting the flu the next year and lowers your immune system by 50%. Doesn't matter if a bunch of other studies show that. Doesn't matter how many medical doctors I have. They go on the news and say there's 0 side effects and everything's fine. And they lie to you. So the World Health Organization says West African Ebola outbreak still expanding geographically. Reuters, the Ebola epidemic is still spreading in Ghana, Sierra Leone, Liberia, and projections show there will be between 5,000 and 10,000 new cases a week in early December, the World Health Organization said yesterday. Liberia needs 79,940 more body bags. That's from the Washington Post. This inventory from the Liberian Ministry of Health and Social Welfare starkly illustrates the huge gap between what Liberia has and what it needs over the next 6 months. Well, I thought 4,000 people had died. Folks, entire cities and towns are collapsing. They're calling Liberia and other countries failed states. But don't worry, the airports are still running, and the people are fleeing to Central and South America and El Norte, the United States. And if you don't accept someone with Ebola into your home, you're racist. And if you don't accept death panels in Obamacare or the VA having troops on secret death list, you guessed it, you're a homophobe racist, which is even worse. So there you go. Sacrifice everything on the altar of political correctness. Sky News reports that there's 60 days to beat Ebola. The UN says, oh, the UN's going to save us, and so will Obamacare here domestically. The UN says the Ebola outbreak must be controlled within 60 days, or else the world faces an unprecedented situation for which there is no plan. But after it, there'll be a global plan to respond to the next thing, right? There won't be any, why'd you leave the flights open? Why'd you bring the people in? Why did the UN agree with Obama, leave the borders open? Why did you do all this? We'll have Bono come out and raise money for his charity in the UN. Of course, you know it came out. Guess how much Bono gives of the hundreds of millions he's raised for his private charity? Guess how much Bono, gonorrhea, whatever his name is. Guess how much this humanitarian liberal who also gives money to take your guns, guess how much this usurper, this Mando Ireland, they should be so ashamed of him over there. Guess how much he gives to charity. You can pull it up in the Daily Mail or BBC. 10%? I mean, the Clintons keep 50% for themselves to pay for mansions and jet airplanes for Haitian kids. I mean, that's horrible. That's despicable. 50% is over the top evil. Guess how much Bono of U2 keeps for himself? 98%. Look it up. Bono only gives 2% to charity. 2%. 2%. I want to vomit whenever I see him on TV constantly with some rock concert, sucking off everyone, paying for tickets for his charity to help Africans when the slug of earth. I mean, it's like Warren Buffett lobbying for higher taxes when he gets the laws written where he's exempt. He wants poor people's money. He wants higher payroll taxes by poor people who are losing everything they got, paid to the government, so he gets big banker bailouts. Those two ought to be buried together when they die. There it is, Bono under fire over one charity donations totaling $9.6 million. And then you read deeper, 2%. A fraction of his income to charity. Yeah, that's another article you found where he only gives a fraction of his income to charity. No. Yeah, but the charities, he also, when it comes down to his charities, the charities he promotes give a fraction as well. So yeah, he gives a fraction, and then also the charities he's involved with give a fraction. I know the number I saw was 2%, but I guess the number you pulled up is they're saying he gives 2% of his income. So he makes 9.6 million pounds, and then he gives $118,000 to it. The point is he's a hypocrite.
Introducing the first proprietary oxygen-based intestinal cleanser, OxyPowder. Backed by real FDA-approved phase 1, 2, and 3 clinical trials. People are suffering from all kinds of digestive issues these days. All the toxins from the air, the food, the water, ultimately ends up in the gut or affects the gut. My main focus was to come up with a remedy for this, something that's safe and effective that anyone can take on a regular basis to keep their intestinal lining clean. My recommendation is to clean your intestines at least 2 to 3 times a week to prevent the toxic buildup from going into your bloodstream. Take your health into your own hands and start cleansing your body today with OxyPowder. Secure your OxyPowder today at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com.